conflict between Iran and Israel has entered a more dangerous phase. This is still not full-scale war, but the intensity of the military exchanges now points to a level of escalation that can no longer be dismissed. For years, the confrontation between these two powers was largely indirect, fought through proxies, covert operations, and regional pressure points. Now that pattern is shifting. The attacks are becoming more open, more direct, and far more visible. Missiles and drones have emerged as the primary tools of this confrontation, and that reality is making the broader Middle East increasingly vulnerable to a wider regional crisis. Reports indicate that the Iranian attacks involved a combined use of ballistic missiles and long-range drones. These were not isolated launches. They appear to have been carried out in multiple waves, a tactic designed to place sustained pressure on Israel's air defense systems. The logic behind such an approach is clear. When attacks come in volume and at carefully timed intervals, the goal is not only to strike targets, but also to test the limits of interception capacity. The more pressure placed on defensive systems, the greater the chance that some projectiles will get through. Israel, meanwhile, has responded with a more measured military posture. Its strikes have focused on targets considered strategically important, particularly those linked to Iranian military infrastructure beyond Iran's borders. Syria is frequently mentioned in this context. What this suggests is that both sides are attempting to maintain pressure while still avoiding a direct slide into all-out war. At least for now, the conflict remains calibrated, but it is becoming more dangerous with each exchange. One of the most closely watched developments in this escalation is the attention surrounding Iran's Khorramshahr-4 missile. Introduced in 2023, it represents part of Iran's broader effort to modernize its strategic missile capability. The missile is said to have a range of around 2,000 kilometers, placing Israel well within reach. It is also associated with a heavy warhead payload, which significantly increases its potential destructive effect. In military terms, range, speed, and payload are critical factors, and this system draws attention because it appears to combine all three. At the same time, it is important to note that many claims about the operational use of this missile still rely heavily on official Iranian statements. Independent verification remains limited, and that makes caution essential when assessing battlefield claims in real time. On the Israeli side, the country's multi-layered air defense network remains a central factor. The Iron Dome is its most recognized component, designed to detect, track, and intercept incoming threats before they reach populated areas. In practice, the system has demonstrated a high level of effectiveness, especially against certain categories of incoming projectiles. But no defense system is perfect. When attacks are launched simultaneously and in large numbers, even advanced systems can face capacity strain. Under those conditions, some projectiles may still penetrate the shield. Some areas in Israel have felt the direct impact of these attacks. The damage has included buildings struck, fires triggered by explosions, and disruption to normal public life. Beyond the visible destruction, there is also the psychological effect. Daily routines are interrupted, civilians are forced into shelters, and uncertainty spreads far beyond the immediate strike zones. Yet the damage has not translated into complete paralysis. Much of the country has remained functional, and civil defense procedures have played a major role in limiting casualties and reducing broader disruption. That distinction matters because in moments like this, exaggerated narratives often spread faster than confirmed facts, and that is why the wider regional dimension cannot be ignored. This confrontation is not just about Iran and Israel in isolation. The Middle East is already one of the most geopolitically fragile regions in the world, shaped by overlapping alliances, proxy actors, and long-standing fault lines. Lebanon and Syria are often drawn into the conversation because of their connection to broader regional networks and armed groups aligned with larger state interests. The presence of such actors makes the situation even more volatile because escalation can spread through multiple channels at once. There is also an economic dimension. International trade routes connected to the region could be affected by further instability, and any serious disruption would carry consequences not only for neighboring states, but potentially for the global economy as well. Diplomatically, the United Nations has continued to call for restraint. The UN Security Council remains the main formal arena for de-escalation efforts, where repeated appeals for calm and an end to attacks have been voiced. But the effectiveness of that body is often constrained by competing interests among major powers, especially those with veto authority. That reality limits the UN's ability to impose binding outcomes in crises of this kind. Still, diplomacy does not happen only in public chambers. It also unfolds behind closed doors, through private messages, back-channel communication, and quiet negotiations aimed at preventing a larger war. In that effort, the role of the UN Secretary General remains important, not because diplomacy produces instant results, but because even limited communication can help slow the momentum toward wider conflict. For now, the situation remains short of open war, but the direction is deeply concerning. What we are witnessing is not a single isolated exchange. It is a pattern of escalation, pressure, and response that is becoming more direct, more dangerous, and more difficult to contain. And in a region where even a limited confrontation can quickly pull in multiple actors. The real danger is not only what has already happened, but what could come next.